Is actually in Street Meet today. I know we got to go, but it is a very, very good idea.
But, you know, and obviously the other end of that argument is that over-regulating the markets could also be a huge problem. I got the last word, Cody. Just joking.
No, you didn't think you did.
All right, the administration, guys, leaking its plans to tax in dribs and dribs. First, it wants to close loopholes on overseas tax shelters used by corporations. Then it wants to close some more loopholes used for domestic business. Now it's starting to talk about taxing smokes and booze to pay for health care reform. Who knows what's next? All this amid worries the stimulus isn't stimulating, at least not yet. It might all mean more government spending and more taxes. In case you're outraged, our next guest, maybe outraged, is calling for a Tea Party 2.0. Welcome to South Carolina. Welcome to South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Huge point to be made here today, especially with the news out that the consumer is obviously still struggling. There's a lot of concerns out there, Governor, that things aren't shaping up as much as they should after this big stimulus. So should this render more government spending?
I hope not, and I think it's something we all need to be watchful of, because it's like the boy who cried wolf. At some point it becomes not at all believable. Well, this stimulus package, this stimulus package, this stimulus package, this federal effort. At some point, we've spent about 20% of world GDP on this thing. You look at about $13 trillion last year, and it's almost like, Soviet grain quotas of saying you will produce this amount of grain in Kazakhstan, never mind the realities of what's going on the ground. And so I think that there's a real disconnect between what's happening on the ground in the economy and what Washington is trying to suggest.
All right, well, let's talk about that. On the ground, in the economy, it's slowing down. The stimulus package, $787 billion, it's out there. It's there for your taking. What do you have against spending the money that's there for your constituents?
I think that it represents sort of the mother of all lotteries to state governments and to state government budgets. And what we've said is if an individual won the lottery, a prudent individual wouldn't go out and spend it all. They'd actually set some money aside for paying down the credit card balance or paying down the mortgage. And as a government, we shouldn't be exempt from that same principle. And so what we've said is, let's take $700 million of state money and use it to pay down debt. And if we do that, a couple of good things will happen. One, we won't end up $700 million in the hole 24 months from now. And the question that Washington didn't answer, and a number of people in our own state are not answering, is if we spend it all and end up $700 million in the hole, indeed, what do we do 24 months from now? The other good thing that would happen would be we'd actually make some reforms, actually trim some parts of government that aren't so efficient. And the third reason we think it's so important is that South Carolina, we happen to rank 4th in the nation in what we're allocating to debt service, and the interest that's paid on that debt service goes to a bondholder in New York or Zurich. It doesn't go to a school teacher or to health care in South Carolina. We think there are a number of different wins that come with actually paying down some debt as opposed to spending it all.
Governor, thanks so much for joining. This is Cody Willer, and I've been as adamant against every corporate bailout that has come down the pike in the last 2 years, but I was also against that Republican-led $160 billion stimulus package from 2007. How do you, as a seemingly free marketer, stand with the Republican side and basically condone this confusion and the slippery slope of fascist stimulus socialism that we're on?
Well, we're on the same wavelength. I didn't condone it then. I didn't agree with it then. I was following you then, and I'm following you now with regard to this being a very, very slippery slope and one that has real repercussions with regard to what comes next in the American civilization. I really think that we're at a Pearl Harbor, Alamo, moment in frankly the complexion of the American economy going forward. And it's incredibly important that whether you're from the investment class, the working class, wherever you are in America, that you make your voice heard right now.
Governor,
because if not, we're going to continue down this slippery slope, and I think it's got real problems.
I want to hit on that Tea Party 2.0 that you're talking about real quick. We're running out of time, but the last Tea Party was adamantly against the Republicans and the Democrats equally. It seems like you're basically calling for your own constituents to rally against you. And amen to that.
Not against me, not against the stand we've taken, certainly against a large number of Republicans. We're dealing right now with a food fight in Colombia wherein a budget will be passed trying to compel me to spend money that we don't think is a good idea. So what I'm saying is speak up for common sense, which in this case is not going out and spending money you don't have.
All right, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Governor. Thanks a lot for joining us on Happy Hour. So, will the government need to fire up more stimulus, spend another $1 trillion or so to get the economy fired up? It may not be able to. Happy Hour regular Dave Walker, the former U.S. Comptroller General, writing yesterday that America's AAA debt rating may be cut because the government can't control spending. Let's get reaction to that from Jared Bernstein, chief economist for Vice President Joe Biden. I hope that you were able to hear a little bit of what Governor Sanford had to say from South Carolina. We're asking about spending. He's calling for a Tea Party 2.0. He's afraid that we'll have to spend more. What do you say to that?
Well, I think I have a very basic difference in economic policy, I should say, we here at the White House and the majority in Congress, than the governor. He's talking about something that